This MMA 30 video is brought to you by Cheaterville.com. Did someone post your name as a cheater? Find out now at Cheaterville.com.
Obviously, the two of you ladies have showed your contempt for each other, but you've had to spend a lot of time around each other as well. I'm curious, you know, through the time that you've had to do on this media tour, if your opinion has changed. Either one, I guess we start with Miesha. Has your opinion changed? Have you gained any respect? Has it worsened? I mean, how have things progressed along this time that y'all been kind of forced to?
I feel the same that I did, you know, before we spent all the time together. You know, we see each other every week or whatever, so I mean, it's kind of weird because I haven't ever spent that much time with an opponent, but I mean, it's just a matter of maintaining a professional manner, and you know what I mean, I'll do the talking when March 3rd comes around.
Well, I think it's very difficult to make an accurate assessment of somebody as a person if the entire time that you've known them, there's been a lot of pride and money on the line between the two of you. You know, the entire time that I've known Miesha, that our interests have been at odds with one another, and I don't think there's no way you can make an accurate judgment of a person under circumstances like that. And you know, this hasn't been the least bit personal for me. None of this is an accident. I've been thinking about how I'm going to present myself in this fight from the very beginning, and I can see why she would take offense to a lot of things I've been doing, because for the sake of entertainment, you know, I did say that I would beat the crap out of her and her boyfriend in the same day, which I do believe that. But I could see why she would take offense to that. I thought it was funny and entertaining, and so did a bunch of other people, and that's why I got spun around, and that's why a lot of people are talking about this fight. So I'm not trying to be mean, I'm trying to be entertaining, and I'm sorry if her feelings are getting hurt, but I'm not sorry with the result that has come out of it.
What does it mean for you that you've been able to elevate not just the 145 division, but also the 135?
I mean, it just shows a commitment to the female division in Strikeforce. I think that if you look back at the history, in 2006, the first female fight in the state of California was Gina Carano fighting Elena Maxwell in December of 2006, and we've been committed to the female division, and we're going to continue to build it and grow it, and build new stars. And I think this is the culmination of that goal.
It's huge. I mean, it's the biggest opportunity that I could, you know, ever dream of. This is really a dream come true. Main event, a Strikeforce card, headlining for the women is going to say a lot. You know, if we're able to deliver, like I believe we will, and draw the numbers and do everything, it's going to prove that what we've been saying along, what Strikeforce has been saying all along, is that, you know, the women can definitely hang with the men. We can deliver entertaining fights, and that's what this business is all about. People want to be entertained, and we're definitely going to entertain on March 3rd.
Good for you.
I just think it's kind of hilarious that Miesha said she doesn't like me or anything that I've done, but then she just said that I helped make her dreams come true. So that's a little bit of a contradiction. But I agree with her and most of what she just said. This is something I've been aiming to accomplish for a very long time. And you know, I don't say, I cannot say that this is all me. I'm trying as hard as I can, but you know, people like Scott Coker who have, you know, been an advocate for the women's fighters ever since the beginning, when, you know, a lot of people weren't. And I really appreciate all the people that have put time and energy into making this fight happen, and we're not going to disappoint anybody in this fight.
If she wants to get some real competition and come down to 135, I also would agree with Ronda that it'll probably make it easier for her to make that weight, and you know, we'll just have to see what happens when she makes her return.
My understanding is that before they actually get signed to a contract, they will have to submit a test for steroids to be tested. And have to be clean before they're actually signed to the agreement. Well, here's the thing: is that, you know, the Carano Cyborg was one of the biggest fights in the history of our company, and I think this, you know, this fight ratings-wise could be right up there or greater than. And you know, I think that when you talk about what's relevant today, this is the fight. And for all the fans or reporters or the fighters, especially, you know, from Sarah, Sarah's position about, you know, this fight, she doesn't deserve to fight. I totally disagree. I mean, this. You know, to me, Ronda has proven herself to be worthy of this title shot, and that's why we gave it to her.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride, that's for sure. You know, being a woman in the sport, you know, it's a little different than the men in that I feel a lot of times we have to work a little bit harder to get that acceptance, but I do find that, you know, with the proper work ethic and, you know, not complaining or being, you know, girly inside the practice room, that it definitely garners respect. I've never really had any issue in getting any male athletes to have respect for me. I always work hard, and I don't complain, and show up, and I do just as the boys do. So, you know, it's just a matter of breaking barriers, changing minds, opening people's minds to the fact that women can do just the same as the men do. You know, biologically, obviously, we're a little different, but we can be just as technical, we can work just as hard, and we deliver amazing fights. So what more can you ask for?
Well, yeah, I agree with her on a lot of that. It's harder when you're a girl because you can't just walk into a new gym and have people respect you just from your record or your history. And you kind of have to prove yourself to each new group of people at a time. You know, you don't have any success that carries over in the way that the men do. So, you know, when I first started MMA, the first gym that I went to, no one would pay attention to me or help me at all. And, you know, they asked me to pay too much that I couldn't afford. So I went to a different gym, and the GFC where I am now, and the coach wouldn't spend any time on me, and I just put in my head that I was going to force these people to respect me. And so I came in there earlier than any of the guys did, and I left after all the guys were done. I made sure that I was training before them and I was training after them. And this went on for 2 months before my coach actually did any kind of mitt work with me. And you know, you have to do twice as much work to get an equal amount of respect, and I'm willing to put that work in because, you know, unfortunately at this time it's necessary.
You know, to kind of follow up on that a little bit, it seems like in pushing this fight, people either look at it as 2 top 135ers in the world or 2 hot chicks fighting. Does that bother you if it's marketed that way, you know, your looks over what you can actually do in the cage?
Well, unfortunately, yeah, it's just a part of the game. I would like to see the evolution of women's MMA get to the point where we're respected first and foremost as athletes and for our skill set and the skills and fighting ability that we deliver in the cage. And secondly, you know, what we are outside the cage. You know, and we all have our own way of marketing ourselves, and I think that there's nothing wrong with the way that anyone decides to do it. You know, fortunately for myself, you know, I definitely find myself tending to be more feminine outside the cage, and I think that's all right. And you know, that's the direction I'd like to see women's MMA go, is definitely respected as an athlete first and foremost, and for whatever else afterwards. But you know, we have women are marketed differently, period. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're selling. Women have a different selling point, and I think that angle is always going to be played up upon. So just something that we are going to, you know, continue to work with.
Well, I see the looks part, I think, is more of a gimmick. You know, you get people to look originally that don't know anything about women's MMA or even MMA in general, you know, because it's something different. I mean, when do you see 2 girls fighting, and when do you see 2 good-looking girls fighting? You know, it's something that people will stop and look at. And, you know, if you see 2 girls fighting on a playground or something like that, you'll stop and look and be like, hey, look, it's 2 girls fighting, and then, you know, you'll keep walking. You don't keep fans like that. But I think that you can get people, you know, to stop and look for a second with that. You don't retain fans with a gimmick, but you rope them in the first place with that. And I think that, you know, that's why we don't see ring girls fighting, you know, because yeah, sure, they're pretty, but you know, if you actually stop me, like, after you're like, oh, there's 2 pretty chicks fighting, you're like, oh Jesus, it's a disaster, and then you'd move on and you wouldn't watch the rest of it. But if you first stop me, oh, those 2 pretty girls fighting, you're like, oh my God, that was a really cool, you know, like, head kick. Oh my God, I've never seen a takedown like that before. Oh my God, that's a great transition to the ground. You know, that it's the actual sport and skill that makes people stay, but you got to show them something bright and shiny to look in the first place.
Do you think it's more important to change the minds of men than women, from your perspective in MMA?
Well, men's minds definitely work differently than women's.
That's true.
Yeah, so I can't, you know, exactly say how it works, but, you know, I have a pretty good idea. I think, yeah, you know, based kind of going off what Ronda said, you know, that is the truth of the matter. If we can get something to draw the attention and then deliver the skill set, you know, that's where we're going to start to change the minds of the men and women as well. But I think our main audience is men, so we're going to target that a little bit more. I think the women are an easier sell because they see women, they don't care if they're pretty or they're not, they just like the fighting. You know, the men are a little different. They want to see, you know, the pretty girls, and they see the skill set delivered, and they become fans of us as athletes. And then maybe later down the road, you know, it won't take as much of the pretty angle to get them to actually enjoy the entertaining fight.
So you're the same, Ronda, that you want to change the minds of men?
I disagree a little bit more because, yes, more of the MMA demographic is men, but I think that with putting on more women's fights, it would appeal to more women. And if you started attracting just as many women as men, you would have twice as many fans. You know, and it does help to change, you know, to get the men looking as well because they're already MMA fans. But I think that promoting women's MMA fights, you know, I've had so many women come up to me and be like, I was never into MMA before until I saw you ladies fighting, you know, and now I love it, now I'm into it. Oh my God, I love watching you guys fight. I want a body like that. I started doing MMA because I saw you girls and you're gorgeous and I want to look just like you, you know? Like, I think that one demographic isn't more important than the other, but I think that it is, you know, we got to try our best to appeal to both.
But it was, you did ask about changing the mindset though, right? That's what I'm talking about. I think the women don't necessarily need the change. You know what I mean? Think they're already kind of on board when they see it. They're like, yeah, you know, we're all on board. You know, the men are kind of like, oh, we don't know. Are these women just as good? Or they, you know, they have more doubt in us because men kind of seem to hold themselves here and women here a little bit, you know? So it's changing that so for them to see us as equals and that we can deliver the fighting ability just as well as the men.
This summer,
The Olympics, it would be, I think it'd be very difficult to get MMA into the Olympics. You know, MMA is a very graphic sport, and the Olympics is a very politically correct event. And I think if you were going to want to see MMA in the Olympics, it would have to be some sort of like, you know, softer version of it. Just like boxing in the, you know, in the Olympics is not like pro boxing.
3 rounds or...
Yeah. And then, you know, they don't get points for jabs or whatever. You know, it's like... So I think if you were ever to see MMA in the Olympics, there would have to be like headgear or shin pads or bigger gloves or something like that. They would have to change the rules of the sport to see it, you know, more likely to get accepted. And plus, it's like, how are you gonna, you know, do it? Because MMA, it's so hard on your body. You can only fight every couple of months, really. I mean, you can fight several times in a day, but you know, you can't do that on a regular basis. So they would have to make it a little softer MMA to be an amateur style, I think, for it to work.
I think maybe what I would really like to see maybe before MMA as a whole, you know, taking steps, because I think that's how things happen with the natural progression, is to see the jiu-jitsu get in there, the submission wrestling, the no-gi, the gi, and start getting people familiarized with that style of art. And then we already kind of have, we have the wrestling in there, we have the boxing in there, and then you get the submission wrestling, the judo, and then maybe, you know, we could see it really come together and maybe do something along the lines of putting everything together in the Olympics.
You're able to speak eloquently and also get your point across that's reminiscent of a pro wrestling promo. Do you think that that's needed, maybe not just in mixed martial arts, but just to get the sport kind of over with people, where it's not just like two people fighting, but also getting emotionally involved in what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, my fighting name is Rowdy Ronda Rousey after Rowdy Roddy Piper. You know, like I obviously take some inspiration from pro wrestling. You know, I had a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy when I was a kid, which coincidentally I used to rip his arm off all the time, and it was sewed on with dental floss over and over. And you know, Gene LaBelle is one of my coaches, and he used to do pro wrestling. And one thing I noticed in wrestling that people liked more than anything else, it had like storylines and backstory. There was a reason why these two wanted to fight, you know, and something was being resolved by it. And I think playing up that part of it, you know, like I say this analogy all the time, that, you know, people talk about their sport like it's their favorite TV show. You know, they gossip about, you know, players like, oh, this football guy did this, he doesn't like that guy, and that happened on that team. Like, people want to get into it. And if you make it more than just two people locked in a cage and fighting, if you make it seem like it means something or resolve something, or, you know, then I think it makes it just much more interesting. So yes, I do think it's important. I do it on purpose. You know, none of this has been an accident.
I think probably her biggest strength, I mean, obviously she has, would probably be, I don't know, I mean, I guess maybe her judo would be her strongest point. It's stylistically a little different than most of the people that I've fought. I know her grappling is good as well. You know, however, I think that I would be able to out-scramble her in most situations. I think having the wrestling just changes things a little bit when you hit the ground. But, you know, the main thing that I would like to say, though, is, you know, submitting Marloes Coenen is something that I think a lot of people didn't believe that would happen, or believe could happen, or something that I would do. And it just goes to show that you can never count me out, and you can never underestimate me, because I always have something, you know, up my sleeve, and I'm never the kind of person that will ever give up in any situation. And I'm definitely going to bring the fight 110%, and, you know, it's going to be interesting. You know, I can't really say what's going to happen. I just know that I'm going to bring everything that I've got to that fight. I'm going to do everything that I can to bring my title home with me. And that's, I think, you know, all that I can really say.
Make another Olympic run?
No. I mean, I'm going to go to the Olympics, because it'll be cool just to be a spectator for once. But I know what's required to be the best in the world in judo. I know that the lifestyle that I need to live, and I just was not enjoying it anymore. You know, I think you get to a point where you're not learning new things, you're just learning how to do things you already know a little better. And I just didn't really feel like challenged or, you know, interested in it anymore. You know, and that's the great thing about MMA, is every single day I'm learning things that are entirely new and foreign to me. And I wasn't willing to be miserable for 4 years to possibly be happy for one day.
Gotcha.
You know, it wasn't worth it to me anymore.
This MMA 30 video is brought to you by Cheaterville.com. Did someone post your name as a cheater? Find out now at Cheaterville.com.